Maya Chen sat in the back corner of Advanced Xenobiology, her worn textbook covering half her face as Professor Kelman droned about Zephyrian anatomy. Around her, fellow cadets whispered and passed notes, their voices mixing into a familiar hum of academy life. She kept her eyes down, focusing on the detailed diagrams of alien respiratory systems, anything to avoid the casual glances that made her stomach twist. "Miss Chen," Professor Kelman's voice cut through the chatter. "Perhaps you could enlighten us about the primary weakness of Zephyrian combat physiology?" Maya's breath caught. 23 pairs of eyes turned toward her, some curious, others already smirking. She could feel her hands trembling as she gripped the textbook tighter. The professor waited, his expression growing impatient. They're neural clusters," she whispered, barely audible, "located behind the third dorsal ridge. A precise strike there causes complete motor paralysis. Speak up, Chen. The class can't hear you mumbling." Heat rushed to her cheeks. She tried again, her voice cracking slightly. "The neural clusters. Behind the third dorsal ridge. It's their primary vulnerability in close combat." Professor Kelman nodded curtly and moved on, but Maya caught the exchange of glances between her classmates. Jake Morrison, the class's golden boy destined for fleet command, leaned over to his friend.
"How does she even know that stuff?"
"She can barely order lunch without stuttering." Maya sank deeper into her chair, wishing she could disappear entirely. What they didn't know, what none of them could possibly understand, was that she'd learned about Zephyrian neural clusters not from textbooks, but from her bare hands. 3 months ago, on the blood-soaked moons of Kepler 442, she'd driven her combat knife into exactly that spot, while a dying Zephyrian warrior twice her size tried to tear her throat out. The academy bell chimed, signaling the end of class. Maya quickly gathered her materials, hoping to slip out unnoticed, but Jake's voice stopped her. "Hey, Chen, wait up." She froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. Jake approached with his usual confident stride, his perfectly pressed uniform a stark contrast to her slightly rumpled cadet grays. Behind him, 3 other cadets followed like satellites orbiting a star. "That was pretty impressive back there," Jake said, his tone carrying just enough condescension to make it clear he was talking down to her. "You really know your xenobiology. Maybe you should consider academic track instead of combat training. Might be more suitable for someone like you." The others snickered. Sarah Kim, the daughter of a decorated admiral, added with false sweetness, "Jake's right. Combat training can be so rough. All that shouting and physical contact. You seem more comfortable with books." Maya's fingers tightened around her textbook until her knuckles went white. If only they knew that 3 months ago she'd held the line against a Zephyrian assault for 6 hours straight, while her entire squad lay dead around her. If only they could see the scars that crisscrossed her torso, hidden beneath her regulation undershirt. If only they understood that their fragile classmate had killed 17 enemy soldiers with nothing but a damaged pulse rifle and her bare hands. But she couldn't tell them. The mission to Kepler 442 was classified at the highest levels. Operation Phantom Shield didn't officially exist, and neither did the lone survivor who'd somehow held a strategic position against impossible odds. As far as the galaxy knew, Maya Chen was just another academy cadet, unremarkable and forgettable. I'll think about it," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake's smile was patronizing. "Good. Play to your strengths, Chen. We all have our place in the fleet." As they walked away, Maya heard Sarah's voice drifting back. "Poor thing. She's so timid. I can't imagine her lasting 5 minutes in actual combat." Maya stood alone in the empty classroom, her reflection staring back from the darkened windows. The girl in the glass looked exactly as her classmates saw her, small, nervous, fragile. What they couldn't see was the steel beneath her skin, forged in the crucible of an impossible battle. What they couldn't know was that their gentle, stuttering classmate was the most dangerous human in the academy. She touched the hidden scar on her left shoulder, a reminder of the Zephyrian claw that had nearly ended her life. The wound had healed, but the memory remained sharp as broken glass. The screaming of dying soldiers, the acrid smell of burned plasma, the weight of a dying squad leader pressing his command codes into her bloodied palm. "Hold the line, Chen," he'd gasped with his final breath. Hold the line. And she had. For 6 impossible hours she'd held the line. Maya picked up her bag and walked toward the door, her footsteps echoing in the empty room. Tomorrow there would be more classes. More whispered comments, more well-meaning suggestions that she find a safer path. They would continue to see what she let them see, a quiet girl who belonged in libraries, not battlefields. None of them suspected that their fragile classmate's gentle hands had once been painted red with alien blood, or that behind her nervous smile lay the focused calm of a warrior who'd stared death in the face and never blinked. The Academy's most decorated living soldier walked among them in plain sight, hidden behind stammered words and downcast eyes. And for now, that was exactly how it needed to be. The combat training simulator hummed to life as Instructor Vega called the cadets to attention. Maya stood at the back of the group, her practice armor feeling foreign after months of civilian clothes. Around her, the other cadets checked their gear with practiced efficiency, their conversations filled with bravado about upcoming scenarios. "Today we're running urban combat simulations," Vega announced, his scarred face impassive. "You'll face holographic Zephyrian forces in a city environment. Remember, these simulations are based on real battle data. Treat them seriously." Jake Morrison stepped forward, already assuming leadership. "Sir, request permission to lead Alpha Squad." "Granted." "Chen, you're with Morrison's team." Maya's stomach dropped. She caught Jake's barely concealed grimace as he nodded reluctantly. The other squad members, Sarah Kim and 2 combat track cadets named Torres and Hendricks, exchanged knowing looks. "Try to keep up, Chen," Sarah whispered as they moved to the starting position, "and stay behind us. We don't want you getting hurt." The simulation chamber materialized around them, a devastated cityscape with crumbling buildings and smoke-filled streets. The holographic environment was disturbingly accurate, triggering memories Maya had tried to bury. Her hands began to shake as the familiar scent of burning concrete filled her nostrils. "Alpha Squad, advance on the government complex." Vega's voice echoed through their comm units. "Eliminate all hostile forces and secure the building." Jake took point, moving with textbook precision through the rubble-strewn streets. The others followed in formation, their weapons ready. Maya brought up the rear, her practice rifle trembling in her grip. She fought to control her breathing as phantom pain lanced through her shoulder. The first wave of holographic Zephyrians materialized without warning. 8-foot-tall reptilian warriors with gleaming scales and razor-sharp claws charged from concealed positions. Jake's squad opened fire, their shots coordinated and disciplined. Maya froze. The sight of charging Zephyrians sent her mind spinning back to Kepler 442. She could hear the real screams of her dying squadmates, smell the metallic tang of blood mixed with alien pheromones. Her rifle wavered in her hands as terror clawed at her throat. "Chen, what are you doing?" Jake's voice cut through her paralysis. "Fire! Fire!" 2 holographic warriors broke through their defensive line, heading straight for Maya. Her classmates' weapons tracked toward them, but they were too slow. The simulated aliens would reach her in seconds. Something inside Maya snapped. The terror vanished, replaced by cold, calculating fury. Her shaking stopped. Her breathing steadied. The practice rifle came up in a fluid motion that spoke of muscle memory earned in blood. She put 3 rounds through the first Zephyrian's neural cluster before it could complete its charge. The second one leaped, claws extended, and Maya sidestepped with dancer-like grace. Her rifle butt connected with the creature's skull with surgical precision, dropping it instantly. But her body remembered more than marksmanship. As another wave of enemies appeared, Maya moved like liquid death through the simulation. She rolled behind cover with combat veteran instincts, her shots finding fatal targets with mechanical efficiency. When her rifle ran dry, she transitioned to her sidearm without missing a beat. A holographic Zephyrian appeared directly behind Torres, its claws raised for a killing blow. Maya's training round took its center mass before Torres even knew the threat existed. She spun, acquired 2 more targets, and dropped them both with precise headshots. The simulation ended abruptly. The destroyed cityscape faded, leaving only the sterile training chamber and 4 cadets staring at Maya in stunned silence. Her practice rifle was smoking in her hands, her stance perfect, her eyes still carrying the flat calm of a seasoned killer. "Chen..." Jake's voice was barely a whisper. "How did you..." Maya blinked, suddenly aware of what had just happened. The warrior's mask slipped, replaced by the familiar, nervous uncertainty. She fumbled with her rifle, nearly dropping it as her hands began to shake again. I just... Lucky shots," she stammered, her voice high and fragile. Sarah Kim was checking her tactical display with disbelief. "Lucky shots?" Maya, you just eliminated 12 hostiles in 30 seconds. Your accuracy rate was 98%. Instructor Vega's voice crackled through the comm system. Impressive performance, Chen. Report to my office after class. As they filed out of the simulator, Maya caught fragments of her teammates' whispered conversation. Did you see how she moved? That wasn't luck. That was training. Real training. Where the hell did a library mouse like Chen learn to fight like that? Maya kept her eyes down, her mind racing. She'd blown her cover completely. 3 months of careful mediocrity destroyed in 30 seconds of instinctive combat response. She touched her shoulder scar through her training shirt, the phantom pain now a dull ache. In Instructor Vega's office, she sat across from the grizzled veteran, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Vega studied her with calculating eyes, his expression unreadable. 12 years I've been training cadets, he said finally. I've seen natural talent. I've seen good training. What I saw today was neither. Maya's throat went dry. Sir? What I saw was combat experience. Real combat experience. The kind that comes from actual battles, not simulations. He leaned forward. The kind that gets people classified above my clearance level. The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Maya felt the weight of secrets pressing down on her shoulders, threatening to crush her carefully constructed facade. Your official record shows standard academy progression, Vega continued. No prior military service. No combat deployments. According to your file, you're just another nervous cadet who gets queasy at the sight of blood. His eyes never left her face. But records can be scrubbed. Identities can be constructed. And sometimes heroes need to hide in plain sight. Maya's voice was barely audible. I don't know what you mean, sir. Vega smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. No, I suppose you don't, but word of advice, Chen? If you're trying to stay under the radar, you might want to dial back the superhuman combat reflexes. Makes people ask uncomfortable questions. As Maya left his office, she caught her reflection in the corridor windows. The fragile girl was back, nervous and uncertain. But now she knew that others were watching, measuring, beginning to suspect that their quiet classmate might be something far more dangerous than she appeared. The secret was starting to crack, and Maya wondered how long she could keep both halves of herself hidden from a galaxy that was beginning to take notice. The nightmare always started the same way. Maya was back on Kepler 442, crouched behind twisted metal debris while plasma fire lit up the darkness around her. Squad leader Martinez was still alive, his voice crackling through damaged comm equipment as he coordinated their desperate defense. Phantom 7, this is Phantom 1. We've got movement on the eastern approach. Chen, I need you to cover the maintenance tunnel. In the dream, Maya always tried to warn him, tried to scream that the Zephyrians were flanking from the north, not the east, but her voice never worked. And Martinez always walked into the same trap that had killed him 3 months ago. Maya jolted awake in her academy dormitory, her sheets soaked with sweat. Her roommate, a cheerful engineering track cadet named Lisa, slept peacefully in the next bed, oblivious to the war being fought in Maya's dreams every night. She checked her chronometer. 0347 hours. 3 hours until morning formation. Maya slipped quietly from her bed and padded to the small bathroom, splashing cold water on her face. The mirror showed her the same face her classmates saw, pale, fragile, unremarkable. But in the dim light, she could see something else lurking behind her eyes, something that had watched 17 sentient beings die by her hand. The academy corridors were empty at this hour, emergency lighting casting long shadows as Maya made her way to the observation deck. It had become her refuge during sleepless nights, a place where she could sit among the stars and remember who she really was. She wasn't surprised to find Instructor Vega already there, nursing a cup of synthetic coffee while staring out at the distant nebula that painted space in shades of purple and gold. Couldn't sleep either? He asked without turning around. Maya hesitated in the doorway. Since the simulation incident 2 days ago, Vega had been watching her with knowing eyes. She'd caught him studying her during combat drills, taking notes that never appeared in the official training reports. Bad dreams, she admitted, settling into a chair several seats away from him. They never really go away, Vega said quietly. The dreams. The faces. The sounds. He turned to look at her, his scarred features soft with understanding. How long since your first combat? Maya's breath caught. Sir, I don't... Kepler 442, Vega said simply. 3 months ago. I've been digging, Chen. Carefully, quietly, but digging nonetheless. There's a hole in the official records, a classified operation that officially never happened. The kind of black hole in paperwork that only appears when something extraordinary needs to be buried. The observation deck's silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of the station's life support systems. Maya felt the careful wall she'd built around her secret beginning to crumble. Operation Phantom Shield, Vega continued. 17 soldiers deployed to secure a listening post on Kepler 442's third moon. Officially, the mission was cancelled due to intelligence failures. Unofficially, every member of that squad died defending a position that command had already written off. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. If it's classified, one soldier survived, Vega pressed on relentlessly. Held the line for 6 hours against overwhelming Zephyrian forces. Single-handedly prevented the enemy from accessing quantum encryption protocols that would have compromised our entire communication network. He paused. That soldier was reported KIA along with the rest of the squad. Their identity scrubbed, their service record erased, their very existence classified beyond my clearance level. Tears began to slide down Maya's cheeks, though she fought to keep her voice steady. Why are you telling me this? Because that unknown soldier didn't just survive, Chen. They achieved something unprecedented in human military history. 17 enemy KIA, including 3 Zephyrian Reaver-class warriors. 0 friendly casualties under their command once they took charge. Vega set down his coffee and turned to face her fully. The after-action reports described tactics and marksmanship that border on superhuman. Combat performance that rewrote our understanding of what a single human soldier can accomplish. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She was just trying to survive. The pronoun slipped out before she could stop it. Vega's expression didn't change, but she saw understanding flicker in his eyes. She saved the galaxy, he said softly, and then she disappeared into a fabricated identity at a military academy, pretending to be just another nervous cadet who's afraid of her own shadow. The weight of 3 months of deception suddenly felt unbearable. Maya found herself speaking words she'd never intended to say aloud. They gave me a choice. Court-martial for disobeying direct orders when I stayed behind to hold the position, or complete identity reconstruction, a chance to disappear and live a normal life. Her voice was hollow, drained of emotion. Command said the galaxy needed heroes, but it also needed people to stay anonymous. To be weapons that nobody knew existed. And which did you choose? Maya laughed bitterly. I chose to hide. To be the fragile girl who jumps at loud noises and can barely order lunch without stuttering. Because the alternative was admitting that I'm the kind of person who can kill 17 thinking beings without hesitation when the mission requires it. Vega was quiet for a long moment, studying her face in the starlight. You think that makes you a monster, doesn't it? Maya's voice cracked. Martinez died because he trusted me to cover the tunnel. I let him walk into that ambush because I was too scared to speak up. And then I spent 6 hours methodically slaughtering every Zephyrian I could find. She met his eyes. What kind of person does that make me? The kind who saves galaxies, Vega said simply. The kind who carries the weight so others don't have to. The kind who sacrifices their own peace so that Academy cadets can sleep safely in their beds and worry about nothing worse than failed exams. Maya stared out at the nebula, watching stellar gases swirl in patterns that took thousands of years to complete. Sometimes I wonder if I died on that moon with the rest of them. If Maya Chen is just a ghost wearing someone else's face. Maybe she is, Vega acknowledged. But ghosts can serve purposes too. They can watch over the living. They can stand guard in shadows, and when the time comes they can step back into the light and remind the galaxy what humanity is capable of. As dawn began to lighten the observation deck, Maya felt something shift inside her chest. The secret was out, at least partially. Someone else knew who she really was, what she'd done, what she was still capable of doing. What happens now? She asked. Vega stood collecting his empty coffee cup. Now you continue being Maya Chen, nervous cadet. You stutter through xenobiology classes and pretend to be afraid of combat training. And you wait. Wait for what? His smile was grim. For the galaxy to need its ghost again. Because it will, Chen. It always does. As he left, Maya remained alone with the stars, feeling the weight of her dual existence settling around her like familiar armor. She was a legend and a nobody, a hero and a coward, a killer and a victim. She was exactly what humanity needed her to be. The emergency klaxon started screaming at 1400 hours during advanced tactical theory. Maya was hunched over her datapad, pretending to struggle with fleet formation principles that she could recite in her sleep. When the Academy's alert system came alive with urgent warnings, all personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Around her, cadets erupted into nervous chatter. Professor Kelman tried to maintain order, but his voice was drowned out by the wailing sirens and the shuffle of feet as students gathered their belongings with shaking hands. Unknown vessels detected on approach vector, the automated system announced. All combat-rated personnel report to defense stations immediately. Maya's blood ran cold. Combat-rated personnel meant the Academy's senior instructors and a handful of graduate cadets with active military experience. It meant the threat was serious enough that command was calling up every available body with real training. Through the classroom's wide windows, she could see the running lights of approaching ships against the starfield. Too many ships, too fast, moving in attack formations that she recognized from intelligence briefings that Maya Chen, Academy cadet, was never supposed to have seen. Zephyrian raiders, Jake Morrison breathed from across the room. His face had gone pale. They're actually attacking the Academy. The professor was trying to maintain calm. Everyone remain seated. The defense grid will handle any threat. This is likely just a probe or... His words were cut off by a massive explosion that shook the entire station. Emergency lighting flickered on as the main power grid fluctuated. Through the windows, Maya could see the bright flares of weapons fire as the Academy's automated defenses engaged the intruders. Her hands were perfectly steady as she watched the battle unfold. While her classmates huddled together in fear, Maya was mentally cataloging ship classes, counting probable enemy strength, calculating attack vectors and defensive possibilities. The raider force was smaller than it appeared, maybe 20 ships total. But they were moving with the coordinated precision of a proper military unit, not the usual disorganized pirate rabble. Another explosion closer this time. One of the defensive platforms had gone dark. Maya. Instructor Vega's voice cut through the chaos. He stood in the classroom doorway, his face grim. I need you to come with me. Now. Several cadets turned to stare as Maya gathered her things. Sarah Kim looked puzzled. Why does Chen need to go? She's not combat rated. Vega ignored the question. Move, cadet. That's an order. Maya followed him through corridors filled with running personnel and flashing emergency lights. They moved deeper into the station, toward sections she'd never seen before. High security areas where her academy clearance shouldn't have granted access. How bad is it? She asked quietly. Bad enough. Vega's stride was brisk but controlled. 23 Zephyrian ships, including 2 heavy cruisers. They took out our long-range communications array in the first strike. We're cut off from fleet support. They stopped at a blast door marked with classification warnings that made Maya's fictional identity sweat nervously. Vega pressed his palm to a scanner and spoke a code phrase in a language she didn't recognize. The door hissed open. Beyond was a command center she'd never imagined existed within the Academy. Holographic displays showed the battle in real time, tracking each enemy ship and friendly defense platform. A dozen officers Maya didn't recognize worked at control stations, their uniforms bearing insignia from units that officially didn't exist. Admiral Torres, Vega called to a stern-faced woman studying the tactical display. I've brought her. Admiral Torres turned and Maya found herself looking into eyes that held the same weight she saw in her own mirror. This was someone who'd seen too much, done too much, carried burdens that never went away. Phantom 7, the Admiral said simply. Maya's carefully constructed facade crumbled. The nervous cadet disappeared, replaced by the soldier who'd held Kepler 442 alone. Her posture straightened, her expression hardened. Her voice carried the crisp authority of someone accustomed to life and death decisions. Ma'am, I wasn't aware this facility had active black site operations. Most people aren't. This is Observation Post Sigma. Officially, we don't exist. Unofficially, we monitor Zephyrian fleet movements and run deep cover operations throughout this sector. Torres gestured to the tactical display. Right now we have a problem. The raiders aren't after the Academy. They're after us. The display zoomed in on one of the Zephyrian cruisers. Maya studied its configuration, her mind automatically accessing tactical databases that Maya Chen wasn't supposed to have clearance for. Command class vessel. she observed. They're not raiding. This is a targeted strike based on intelligence. Someone told them exactly where to find you. Agreed. Which means we have a security breach at the highest levels. Torres's expression was grim. It also means our usual defensive protocols are compromised. They know our capabilities, our response patterns, probably our authorization codes. Maya watched the battle unfold on the screens. 3 more defense platforms went dark as Zephyrian fighters swarmed through the perimeter. The Academy's automated systems were putting up a good fight, but it was only a matter of time. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "The defense grid has manual override capabilities," Torres explained. "Someone has to physically access the primary control node and reset the targeting parameters. Give the computers new instructions the enemy won't be expecting." Maya studied the schematic that appeared on her personal display. The control node was in the station's outer ring, directly in the path of the attacking fighters. Getting there would mean moving through areas under direct fire, and the route would be completely exposed for the final 100 meters. "It's a suicide run," she said. Matter-of-factly, "Yes, but it's also the only way to save 3,000 Academy personnel." Torres met her eyes. "I'm not ordering you to do this. Officially, you're not even here. This is a request from one soldier to another." Maya looked around the command center. These people had created an identity for her, given her a chance at a normal life, asked nothing in return. The Academy above them held her classmates. Jake with his arrogant confidence, Sarah with her cutting remarks. Lisa, who slept peacefully every night while Maya fought nightmares. They were safe in their ignorance. Safe because people like Admiral Torres and Instructor Vega and the ghost called Phantom 7 stood watch in the shadows. "How long do I have?" Maya asked. 20 minutes before they break through the inner perimeter." Maya nodded once, her decision made. The nervous cadet was gone, buried beneath layers of training and determination that had been forged in alien blood. What stood in that command center now was humanity's secret weapon, its hidden guardian, its most dangerous soldier. "Send me the route," she said, "and tell the defense grid to expect new management." As she headed for the equipment lockers to gear up for what might be her final mission, Maya wondered if her classmates would ever know that their fragile, stuttering classmate had died so they could live. Probably not, and that was exactly how it should be. Maya moved through the station's maintenance corridors like a shadow, her borrowed tactical gear a perfect fit, despite being issued for someone 3 inches taller. The pulse rifle felt natural in her hands after months of pretending to fumble with training weapons. For the first time since Kepler 442, she was exactly where she belonged. The route to the defense grid control node took her through sections of the Academy she'd never seen as a cadet. Emergency lighting cast everything in harsh red shadows as she climbed through service shafts and crawled along utility passages designed for automated repair drones, not human infiltrators. Through her tactical display, she could track the battle's progress. The Zephyrian forces had punched through the outer perimeter faster than projected. Their fighters were now engaging the Academy's emergency responders in the middle rings. Maya could hear the distant thunder of weapons fire and the occasional scream of metal as another defensive position fell. "Phantom 7, this is Control." Admiral Torres's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Sit rep? 2 clicks from target. No contact yet." Maya paused at an intersection, checking her route display. Enemy seems focused on the main defense stations. They haven't detected the manual override system. Copy that. Be advised, we're tracking approximately 40 fighter craft in your area. They're sweeping for Academy personnel. Maya continued forward, her movements precise and economical. The nervous energy that had plagued her for months was gone, replaced by the cold focus of a professional killer. This was what she'd been designed for, shaped for, trained for in the crucible of an impossible battle. She reached the final checkpoint, a blast door that opened onto the station's outer ring. Beyond lay 100 meters of exposed corridor leading to the defense grid control room. Her display showed 3 Zephyrian fighters patrolling the area, their search pattern systematic and thorough. Maya checked her equipment one final time. Limited ammunition, no heavy weapons, no backup. Just her rifle, her sidearm, and the hard-earned knowledge of exactly how to kill Zephyrians efficiently. The blast door cycled open, and Maya stepped into hell. The corridor was a war zone. Blast marks scarred the walls where plasma fire had melted through composite armor. Emergency atmosphere leaked from several breaches, creating a thin haze that made breathing difficult. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the battle raging in space beyond, flashes of weapons fire against the starfield like a deadly light show. She moved in quick dashes from cover to cover, using debris and structural supports to mask her approach. The control room was visible ahead, its armored entrance sealed and showing no signs of damage. The Zephyrians hadn't identified it as a target yet. A metallic scraping sound made her freeze behind a twisted beam. Through the haze, she saw movement. 3 Zephyrian soldiers in powered armor, moving with the characteristic hunting pattern of experienced warriors. They'd detected something, possibly her, possibly just the residual heat signature of her passage. Maya steadied her breathing, calculating angles and probabilities. 3 targets, unknown ammunition count, limited cover. The smart play was to wait for them to pass, then continue to the objective. The safe play. But safety had never been Maya's primary concern. She moved like liquid death. The first Zephyrian died before it registered the threat, her rifle round punching through the weak point where its helmet met its armor collar. The second spun toward her, raising its weapon, but Maya was already diving to new cover. Her shot took its center mass, the high-velocity round penetrating its chest armor. The third Zephyrian was smarter, faster. It fired as it moved, forcing Maya to roll behind inadequate cover as plasma bolts seared the air around her. She came up firing, her round sparking off its heavy armor without penetrating. The alien warrior charged, its claws extended for close combat. Maya let it come, timing her movement perfectly. At the last second, she sidestepped and drove her rifle butt into the creature's knee joint with surgical precision. It stumbled off balance, and Maya's follow-up shot found the neural cluster behind its dorsal ridge. 3 down. Target achieved in under 90 seconds. Control, this is Phantom 7. Area clear. Proceeding to objective. Copy, Phantom. Be advised, enemy reinforcements inbound to your position. E to 4 minutes. Maya reached the control room and slapped her palm against the access panel. It cycled through her biometrics. Apparently her clearance had been updated sometime in the last 20 minutes. And the armored door hissed open. The Defense Grid Control Center was a cramped space, filled with quantum processors and targeting arrays. Maya slipped inside and sealed the door behind her, then moved to the central console. Her fingers flew across the interface, calling up command protocols that she shouldn't have known but somehow did. The system resisted her at first. Security protocols demanded authorization codes that she didn't have. But Maya had spent 3 months learning to hack academy systems for her cover identity. And these were built on the same basic architecture. She bypassed the authorization requirement through a maintenance subroutine, then began uploading new targeting parameters. Instead of engaging in predictable defensive patterns, the grid would now operate in hunter-killer mode. Instead of trying to protect fixed positions, it would adapt and flow like a living thing, like her. New protocols uploaded, she reported. Grid is now operating under irregular warfare parameters. Through the control room's single window, Maya watched the immediate results. Defense platforms that had been firing in coordinated volleys suddenly shifted to seemingly random targeting. Fighters that had been exploiting predictable patterns found themselves caught in crossfires they couldn't anticipate. The Zephyrian attack began to falter. Outstanding work, Phantom 7. Enemy forces are pulling back to regroup. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Then proximity alarms began screaming. Her door was glowing cherry red as something on the other side applied concentrated heat. The reinforcements had arrived, and they'd brought cutting tools. She checked her ammunition. 2 magazines for the rifle, 1 for the sidearm. Not enough for a prolonged engagement against unknown numbers of enemy soldiers in powered armor. But then again, Maya had made impossible work before. Control, this is Phantom 7. I'm about to have company. Grid is operational, but I'll need to defend the position. Negative, Phantom. You've completed the mission. Exfiltrate immediately. Maya looked around the small control room. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The Zephyrians were cutting through the only exit, and the room had no other ways out. She smiled, feeling the familiar calm that descended when death became a certainty. Control, be advised. Phantom 7 is going weapons-free. Grid will remain operational as long as I'm breathing. The door began to buckle. Maya took position behind the central console, her rifle trained on the entrance. 3 months of hiding. 3 months of pretending to be weak and fragile and afraid. Time to remind the galaxy what humanity looked like when it stopped pretending. The armored door collapsed inward with a thunderous crash, molten metal spattering across the control room floor. Maya had already moved, rolling to a new position as the first Zephyrian warrior stepped through the smoking breach. Her rifle spoke once, twice, 3 times, each shot finding weak points in alien armor with mechanical precision. But they kept coming. 6 warriors in full combat gear, moving with the coordinated precision of an elite unit. Maya's ammunition counter ticked steadily downward as she danced between cover positions, her movements fluid and economical. Every shot counted. Every second mattered. She dropped the 4th warrior with her last rifle round, then transitioned to her sidearm without missing a beat. The remaining Zephyrians split up, trying to flank her in the cramped space. Maya let them come, using their own size against them in the confined quarters. A plasma bolt seared past her head, close enough to singe her hair. Maya spun and put 2 rounds into her attacker's faceplate, the high-velocity bullets punching through the alien's visual sensors. It stumbled backward, blinded, and she finished it with a shot to the neural cluster. 1 left. The final Zephyrian was smarter than its companions. It held position near the entrance, using the wreckage of the door as cover while its weapon tracked her movements. Maya was trapped behind the control console with limited ammunition and no room to maneuver. "Human," the alien spoke in accented standard. "You fight well for prey. Surrender and your death will be swift." Maya checked her sidearm's power cell. 3 shots remaining. Not enough for a direct assault, especially against an opponent who'd learned to respect her capabilities. "I have a counteroffer," she replied calmly. "Leave now and I won't kill you like I killed your friends." The Zephyrian's laugh was a harsh reptilian sound. Brave words from trapped prey. "But I have studied human tactics. You are out of ammunition, out of options, out of time." Maya smiled. "You're right about one thing. I am out of time." She triggered the control room's emergency lockdown. Blast shields slammed down over the windows as the chamber sealed itself completely. Emergency lighting bathed everything in hellish red as life support shifted to minimum power. "What are you doing?" the Zephyrian demanded, something my academy classmates would never believe. Maya stood up from behind the console, her sidearm held casually at her side. "I'm showing you what happens when a human stops holding back." The alien fired, its plasma bolt illuminating the room in brilliant azure. Maya was already moving, her combat-trained reflexes carrying her through space that shouldn't have had enough room for evasion. The bolt scorched the wall where she'd been standing. Maya's return shot took the Zephyrian in the shoulder, spinning it around. Her second shot shattered its weapon. The third and final round found its target in the creature's throat, dropping it to the deck plates. Silence fell over the control room, broken only by the hum of processing equipment and Maya's steady breathing. 7 Zephyrian warriors lay dead around her, their blue blood pooling on the metal floor. "Phantom 7, report." Admiral Torres's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Control room secure," Maya replied. 7 enemy KIA grid remains operational. "Outstanding. Emergency teams are en route to your position." Maya slumped against the control console, suddenly feeling the weight of exhaustion that she'd been holding at bay through pure adrenaline. Her hands were shaking again, but now it was from biochemical crash rather than fear. When the rescue teams finally cut through the blast shields, they found her sitting calmly among the carnage, her empty sidearm disassembled for cleaning. The team leader, a grizzled Marine sergeant, took one look at the scene and whistled low. "Jesus Christ, kid. What the hell happened in here?" Maya looked up at him with tired eyes. I remembered who I was. The aftermath was a blur of medical checks, debriefings, and careful documentation. The official report would record that Academy security forces had repelled the Zephyrian attack with minimal casualties. There would be no mention of Observation Post Sigma, no record of Phantom 7's involvement, no acknowledgement that a single cadet had turned the tide of battle. But word spread anyway. In the whispered conversations of security personnel, in the knowing looks of instructors who'd seen the classified footage, in the subtle respect shown by officers who suddenly found reasons to observe Maya's training sessions. Jake Morrison cornered her 3 days later as she walked to xenobiology class. His usual arrogant confidence was replaced by something approaching awe. "Chen," he said quietly, "I heard rumors about what happened during the attack." Maya kept walking, her eyes down. I don't know what you mean. 7 dead Zephyrians. In the outer ring. Security says it was a malfunction in their armor, but the wounds... Jake grabbed her arm, forcing her to stop. Maya, those wounds were caused by small arms fire. Precise shots. Professional shots. Maya pulled free of his grip. Maybe you should focus on your own training instead of chasing rumors. But Jake wasn't backing down. The blast door was cut open from the outside. Someone was trapped in that room with 7 enemy soldiers. Someone who walked out alive while they didn't. Other cadets were starting to notice the conversation. Sarah Kim approached with several others in tow, their expressions curious and concerned. What's going on? Sarah asked. Jake thinks I'm some kind of secret agent, Maya said with a nervous laugh that sounded perfectly authentic. He's been reading too many military thrillers, but Jake's eyes never left her face. Show me your hands, Chen. What? Your hands. Show me your hands. Maya hesitated for just a moment, but it was enough. Jake reached out and turned her palms upward, revealing the calluses that 3 months of civilian life hadn't been able to erase completely. The kind of calluses that came from extensive weapons training. These aren't academy calluses, Jake said quietly. These are combat calluses. Real combat. The group of cadets stared at Maya's hands in stunned silence. Sarah's eyes were wide with disbelief. Maya, she whispered. Who are you? Maya looked around at their faces, her classmates, her friends, the people she'd protected without them ever knowing. They deserved the truth. But the truth would destroy the carefully constructed fiction that kept them safe. I'm exactly who I've always been, she said finally. A nervous cadet who's afraid of her own shadow. But as she walked away, Maya knew that the secret was unraveling. Her classmates were starting to ask questions that had dangerous answers. The fragile girl who stuttered through xenobiology class was becoming harder to maintain. Soon, very soon, Maya Chen would have to decide whether to keep hiding behind her mask of weakness, or step into the light and show the galaxy what humanity's hidden guardian really looked like. The choice was coming, whether she was ready for it or not. The formal inquiry was held in Admiral Torres's private office, behind doors that bore classification warnings Maya had learned to ignore. She sat across from 3 officers whose insignia marked them as representatives from Fleet Intelligence, Special Operations Command, and a third organization whose symbols she didn't recognize. Cadet Chen, the intelligence officer began, consulting his datapad. Or should we say Phantom 7? Maya kept her expression neutral. I prefer Maya, sir. Your cover has been compromised. Multiple Academy personnel are asking questions about your involvement in the recent attack. Some of your classmates have begun researching your background and they're finding inconsistencies. The Special Operations representative leaned forward. The security of this facility depends on maintaining operational secrecy. Your presence here has become a liability. Maya had expected this. She'd been preparing for it since Jake Morrison had examined her hands 3 days ago. What are my options? Relocation, the intelligence officer said. We can provide you with a new identity, transfer you to a frontier posting where your skills would be valuable and your past irrelevant. You'd have a chance at a normal military career. Or, Maya asked. The unknown officer spoke for the first time. Or you accept reassignment to Project Shepard. Full disclosure of your identity and capabilities. Active duty as humanity's first officially acknowledged enhanced combat specialist. Maya considered this. And my classmates? Would learn that their fragile friend is actually the most decorated soldier in human history, Torres said. The implications of that revelation would ripple throughout the Academy, the fleet, and eventually the entire galaxy. Through the office windows, Maya could see the Academy's central courtyard where cadets moved between classes. Jake Morrison was there, his usual confident stride replaced by thoughtful contemplation. Sarah Kim walked beside him, their conversation animated and intense. They were still trying to solve the puzzle of Maya Chen, still searching for answers to questions that could reshape their understanding of what humans were capable of. If I choose relocation, Maya said, what happens to them? They continue their education. Graduate, serve with distinction in conventional roles. Live normal lives without ever knowing how close they came to death or who saved them. And if I stay? You become a symbol, the unknown officer said. Proof that humanity can produce warriors capable of standing against any threat. Your story would inspire a generation of soldiers, but it would also make you a target for every enemy faction in the galaxy. Maya stood and walked to the window. watching her classmates go about their ordinary lives. Lisa, her roommate, was laughing with friends near the fountain. Professor Kelman was lecturing a group of first-year cadets about basic xenobiology. Normal people doing normal things protected by secrets they'd never know existed. "There's a third option," she said quietly. Torres raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I stay but I don't hide anymore. I become who I really am, openly and honestly. Let them see the truth about what happened on Kepler 442, what happened during the attack, what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge." The intelligence officer shook his head. "Impossible. The classified nature of your missions can be declassified, selectively, carefully." Maya turned back to face them. "You want humanity to know it has guardians? I want my friends to understand that strength doesn't always look like what they expect." The room fell silent as the officers exchanged glances. The Special Operations representative activated a privacy field that turned the air around them into a faint shimmer. "You're proposing to reveal your identity to your immediate classmates while maintaining operational security for the broader public? I'm proposing to stop lying to people who've earned the truth." Maya's voice carried quiet conviction. Jake Morrison, Sarah Kim, the others, they figured out that something doesn't add up. They're not going to stop digging. Better to control the revelation than let them stumble onto classified information. Torres considered this. It would be unprecedented. A partially disclosed operation, limited to a specific group under controlled circumstances. It would also be effective, Maya pointed out. They'll keep the secret if they understand why it matters. And they'll be better officers for knowing what humans are really capable of achieving. The unknown officer leaned back in his chair. Project Shepherd was designed to create a new category of enhanced soldiers. But maybe what we really need is enhanced understanding. People who know that legends walk among them. 3 hours later, Maya stood before her advanced tactical theory class wearing her regular academy uniform, but carrying herself with the confident bearing of a combat veteran. The nervous energy was gone, replaced by calm certainty. Jake, Sarah, and 12 other cadets sat in the front row, their expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. Professor Kelman had been replaced by Admiral Torres, whose presence lent an official weight to whatever was about to happen. 3 months ago, Maya began, her voice clear and steady, I died on Kepler 442. What you see standing here is what came back. She told them everything. Operation Phantom Shield, the impossible defense of a position that command had written off. 6 hours of solitary combat against overwhelming odds. The choice between exposure and anonymity that had brought her to the academy. When she finished, the classroom was silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Jake's face had gone pale. Sarah was staring at her with something approaching awe. Questions? Maya asked. Jake raised his hand slowly. The simulation. When you moved like that, fought like that, muscle memory. 3 months of pretending to be weak doesn't erase years of combat training. Sarah found her voice. Why tell us? Why not just keep hiding? Maya smiled, and for the first time in months it reached her eyes. Because you deserve to know that your fragile friend could kill you all without breathing hard, and chose not to. Because humanity's strength isn't in hiding our capabilities, it's in choosing how we use them. Lisa, her roommate, spoke up from the back. All those nightmares, all those times you woke up screaming. Real battles leave real scars, Maya acknowledged. Some are visible, others aren't. Admiral Torres stepped forward. What you've learned today is classified at the highest levels. You've been granted access to this information because you've proven yourselves trustworthy and because Cadet Chen requested it. That trust extends to your futures in the fleet. Jake looked directly at Maya. What happens now? Do you stay here? Keep pretending to struggle with classes you could teach. Maya considered the question. Around her sat the people who'd unknowingly shaped her civilian identity, who'd given her a glimpse of the normal life she'd sacrificed for duty. They looked at her differently now, not with fear but with understanding. Now I become who I really am, she said. Maya Chen, combat veteran, academy cadet, friend, human being who's seen the darkness between the stars and chose to stand against it. She paused. I stop hiding, but I don't stop protecting. That's what humans do. We stand guard so others can sleep safely. Sarah raised her hand hesitantly. Can we still be friends? Even knowing what you are? Maya's smile was radiant. Sarah, I've been your friend this whole time. Knowing the truth doesn't change that. If anything, it makes it more valuable. As the class filed out, talking in hushed, amazed voices, Jake lingered behind. He approached Maya with the respect she'd always deserved but never received. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "For every patronizing comment, every suggestion that you weren't cut out for this life." Maya shook her head. "You saw what I let you see. That was the point." "No," Jake insisted. "I saw someone I thought was weak and decided I was better than them. That says more about me than it does about you." He extended his hand. "I'd be honored to serve alongside you wherever the fleet sends us." Maya shook his hand, feeling the weight of secrets finally lifted from her shoulders. The honor would be mine. Later that evening, Maya stood on the observation deck where she'd revealed her secret to Instructor Vega weeks ago. But now she wasn't alone. Lisa sat beside her, along with Jake and Sarah and the others who'd learned the truth. They talked quietly about the future, about the choices that lay ahead, about what it meant to serve alongside someone who'd already given everything for humanity's protection. Maya looked out at the stars, feeling lighter than she had in months. The legend could rest now. The ghost could stop haunting corridors in the darkness. Maya Chen, all of Maya Chen, could finally step into the light. She was a warrior and a friend, a protector and a person, a legend and a human being. She was exactly what humanity needed her to be. Not a hidden weapon, but a guardian who chose to stand watch so others could dream of peaceful tomorrows. The galaxy would learn in time what humans were truly capable of, and when it did, Maya Chen would be ready to show them that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in the legends they created, but in the ordinary people who chose to become extraordinary when the moment demanded it. Some heroes wore masks. Maya had finally learned to remove hers.